Welcome back. Appeal Court President, I beg your pardon, Justice Zainadine Bulkachuwa has stepped down from the Presidential Election Tribunal. Now, we all heard when this story broke. Apparently, the PDP and its candidate, Atiku Abubakar, had insisted that she step down in her petition against the victory of the President, Muhammadu Buhari. Now, I still have in the studio Adeni Kunu and Ambrose Igboke. Now, gentlemen, first things first, Atiku had called for this lady to step down, knowing what he knew, that we didn't necessarily know until he made it public. I want to start by asking, when you hold such a position as a justice of a country, a chief justice of a country, should you not have the moral compass of sorts when it comes, because I hear this, I'm not a lawyer, but I hear when people are being asked to recuse themselves because they might have some link to whoever would be in court or the cases, so they might somewhat, not be able to carry out the judgments the way it should be without prejudice. In this case, did she have to wait for this call to be made before she finally decided to step down?
Well, in law, when your lawyer goes to court and it's not, unless it's a lawyer that is a judge that is trying to be funny or playing out a script and has disrespected the hallowed chamber of the court, they'll go ahead when a party through the council has said we object to the judge presiding over this issue. It happened in the case of Zamalek Lepwat, where the kangaroo judge just, went against all moral codes. And it happened again in the case of the CJN, where even when the Umar, I think, was told that they had issues, he still insisted that because there was an agenda. There was an agenda. Now,
alleged agenda.
Well, there was. The man is finally out. So then when it came to this issue, this judge can be considered that she has an interest in the case. Why? We are not talking about a link from the village or from your party or from your school or from being a classmate or alumni. Even those ones matter.
Of course.
We are talking about that your husband is a senator-elect of a particular party. Your son was an aspirant under that political party. So your family is technically members of that particular party. And by virtue of your position as the president of the Court of Appeal, you are the chairman of the Presidential Election Tribunal.
Yes.
So right from time, you would have looked at the complications and but again, a judge will not just recuse herself or himself without any of the parties bringing up the issue about her impartiality.
So she was in her rights.
Impartiality.
Not to
so
recuse
when it came and the PDP, brought that up and said, look, we are not comfortable you sitting over this case because you are an interested party. Your husband is this, your children, in fact, your family can be considered an APC party. So you cannot sit over this judgment. And, that was, I was in another television platform weekend, and we said, look, this woman should recuse herself so that the hallowed chamber of the court can be maintained, that respect. Because no matter the outcome, once she's sitting on that chair, even if the outcome is the prosecution was done well, people will still taint it because of that. So to remove that, she should recuse herself. And yesterday, I would say I wrote down in my word that there's still hope for the judiciary. But that singular act. Because even the other judges in that panel, we are urging her on. It doesn't matter. A lot of people wrote and said, when did we lose it in this country? Wow. How can you say it doesn't matter? It matters. Where some companies, that last Saturday, I argued in that TV platform that in some companies, in many companies, you cannot even give contracts
to anybody that's
everyone that related to you.
Yes.
Even if you are running, let's say you are running a scholarship scheme, now you are in charge of your people cannot benefit. And then it comes to a very strong national issue. Now you now say it doesn't matter because you belong to that camp or political party.
Adeni Kunu, he's almost answered the question I wanted to ask you. But why do you think it took her so long to decide to, apart from the fact that her colleagues were somewhat giving her backing of sorts, why do you think it took so long before she decided? Could it also be the public outcry? Could it be that the pressure came from the media that maybe she couldn't have stepped
Perhaps it
down?
took her long to maybe act out a script. Maybe it took her long to fulfill an agenda. But what I cannot be mistaken about is it took her that long because she had the backing of the president who constituted that in the first instance. Let me use that word. But it has to be said here that in law there's something that has to do with you cannot be a judge in your own case. And from what Ibuke said, it appears as if up until the time she recused herself, she was going to be a judge in her own case. You talked about where the moral compass was. If you don't have a mathematical set, you can't have a compass. And the mathematical set oftentimes is complete for you to plot your graph, mark your lines, make the ruling, write the numbers, and have a perfect graph plotted so that you can score 100%. So in the absence of a mathematical set, you can't get a compass to make use of because you don't get your pivots. That said again, I think it's also a reflection of how deep we've gone into the merry waters of unpatriotism, because patriotism is doing service to the nation while you hold your allegiance to the Constitution. So your nation must benefit from your patriotism because there's a Constitution you're supposed to follow which puts the benefit of the people, or so it seems, first before any other. So for those judges or those justices that urged her on, I have to say with every emphasis, they're a disgrace to the noble profession of what? Of being a lawyer.
But what does this also say about our judicial system? Because, you know, we used to have this saying, I think we still do, that the court is the final hope of the common man.
Excuse me,
but
I
if
agree.
we have these kind of questionable
Hold on,
characters,
you see, the reason they set
displayed,
up what is called mediation center or alternative dispute resolution centers is that there are certain cases they believe that you can discuss, have a conversation, and have solutions rather than argue, bring evidence, get a verdict, pay a particular amount. You know, the laborious process of getting judgment, the needless repeated visit to court, and the waste of man hours have all been incorporated into consideration for alternative dispute resolution because some matters could be regarded as frivolous. Therefore, if we bring this situation in context, we can say that rather than take us through the whole process and say, yes, we have to go to the court, yes, they need to bring evidence. The counsel to the PDP brought first 19 paragraph affidavit and added 2 to it because that's 21. That these reasons, that reasons. Of course, there was a counter motion. Of course, the verdict was that there was nothing to be worried about. But I think that it is just to face to save the face of what of those who gave the verdict that we are in control. If they wanted to be very sincere, that verdict itself appears to me a capital faux pas in the first place, because the counter motions were not enough for you to jettison the authenticity of the position held by the PDP. So at times they make us appear incoherent in terms of certain things that we do, our cogitations, our ideals, what we stand for. But I have to say, yes, some of us spend a lot of time with these issues because we believe that we intervene as opinion shapers, as those who influence society in issues that affect us. So I have to say that at the level of the verdict they gave, I'm utterly disappointed. At the level of the other 4 members of the Petitions Tribunal, I'm utterly disappointed. And I have to say the only glimmer of hope was for the person in the eye of the storm to have said, I'm backing out. But with those 2 that I've mentioned, I tell you, I hold no apology. I am completely disappointed in them.
What should we be expecting from this tribunal, being that, you know, like I want to borrow Adeniyi's words, they're now in murky waters. Do we see, you know, something good coming from this? Do we see a clear, transparent, you know, elections tribunal, or should we be worried?
Well, we can worry 2 years ago, when the judges' houses were being busted, were being bust in the middle of the night, There was a clear-cut agenda to see that this time when it comes, that such a thing will start happening. And then when the latest movie that happened was between early this year, when they suddenly realized that the man who will be sitting in judgment of the Supreme Court was maybe not going to play ball. And of course, in Nigeria, I mean, when they dig, they always say something dirty about you, so they dug out something. And they went about it the wrong way and all, they didn't follow due process, they actually got the man out of the way.
Maybe we have to start having clean slates.
So they got it out of the way. If government want to nail something on you, they will nail it. So they got it out of the way, and that made people worried. That to say the manner in which you removed this man with fiat. Meanwhile, there are court judgments that have been sitting there for 3 years. You have not obeyed. Even the ECOWAS courts, you have not obeyed. But it was convenient to remove this man in a jiffy. So that suggests that there was an addendum on this, or a lot of agenda on this presidential election. And so when that cleared out of the way, the new man, under 48 hours, just inaugurated the new tribunals across the country. And so presidential and even state government and all those. So that made people begin to worry. And then the first pronouncement by the Presidential Election Tribunal suggests that we have to be worried because the PDP requested that they wanted to do a forensic analysis of this thing. That was rejected, and I think they should appeal that because I remember those days, what is his name? Olusegun Agagu in Ondo State actually clinched his victory because there was international forensic experts who actually flew in to do forensic analysis, all of them. So if that has been allowed and be set as precedents in our electoral judicial process, I don't know why this one should be should be denied. So I think PDP has a right to go and claim that they should. And there is this paranoia about APC. They're always edgy. When you talk, must we agree with everything you do as a government? We are not supposed to agree. If you do the things right, we'll give you thumbs up that you have done well. But you have not done the things wrong. If 80% of the things we have done we are not satisfied, we will complain. So because people always, and when we go against them, so we are whalers, we are opposition, corruption is fighting back, this and that, and then they tag you hate speech, they tag you all kinds of things. So it's not going to work. They should listen. This government is not a listening government, and that's the biggest problem we are having.
All right, Denny Kunu, before we go, just put in a word before we wrap this up in a sentence.
In a sentence, I think I'm going to make it a complex compound sentence so that I can encapsulate everything. I need to say that leadership is about the people that give you the privilege of power. And because power is transient, you have to do what will remain legacies that people will remember and be endeared to you even after your demise. Kenneth Kaunda celebrated, I think, 90 years. 95, right? That's last week.
Yes.
And do you know what? You need to see the pomp and celebration with which this man was actually held. Abacha died in this country. People celebrated his demise. It is there for all to see. And there is nothing that a man fears other than the fact that he died and everything about him evaporates. And don't think it's going to take the process of rainfall, because such evaporation doesn't bring rainfall. It disappears forever.
Okay.
So I'm saying here that they should do what we will refer to after they have gone.
All right. It's been an interesting conversation, gentlemen. Ambrose Igboke and Denny Kunu. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I had an amazing time this evening. Well, we'll take a look at our Plus Politics package, and when we return, I will give you my take. The Senate has expressed worry over the current levels of insecurity in Rivers State. Lawmakers, while responding to a motion raised on the floor of the Senate by Senator Andrew Uchendu, representing Rivers East Senatorial District, said there is a need for urgent action. Senator Uchendu revealed that the gory tales of beheadings of residents are true but usually underreported by the media, and wants urgent action done to contain the violence.
Some years ago, what is going around this country today in terms of insecurity, killings, kidnapping, and raping, were confined to a few states in the Niger Delta. Motions were raised both in the Senate and the House of Reps. Till today, it has not abated. But at the risk of monotony, I have to raise the case of Rivers State because a new dimension has been added to the killings. The Senate is aware that the killing of innocent citizens as a result of murder, kidnapping, violence, or abduction has been the bane of Rivers State for more than a decade now. No recourse that these killings assumed a very dangerous proportion before, during, and after the 2015 general elections, where more than 200 persons were killed. Senate is worried that the nature of killings in the state has assumed a more horrendous dimension by the decapitation or dismembering of body parts, including beheading of victims. Only last week, about 4 heads were found along the east-west road for people to see. The Senate learned that a new twist has now been added to this sacrilegious conduct by not only killing by beheading, but also by having the corpses burnt.
Way back in 2007 or thereabout, this matter was first brought on the floor of the House. And I remember vividly that I said this country has a responsibility to take decisive action where action of people appear to be clearly criminal. And my reasons then were, if you kidnap and collect money and you say you are doing that on behalf of a movement, and then when you collect the money, instead of building school or hospital or something with it, you pocket it, and you are still claiming to be fighting on behalf of some people. I say that is criminal.
I would like us to, as statesmen, consider this issue of Rivers State as something that's affecting the entire Federation of Nigeria. We are trying as much as possible here to create a situation where we are demarcating a particular state.
It's really sad. Sad in the sense that we all know that in 1999 through 2000, the Rivers State used to be very, very peaceful. Very, very peaceful, a lovely state. But from 2000 upwards, there was this struggle for power. Struggle for power that created a kind of situation where the political players began to arm boys, young men, with dangerous weapons, and they formed themselves into cultist groups. It's a well-known fact all over the country. We know that. And that created an ugly situation for insecurity in Rivers. In fact, we from other parts of the country were so concerned. But the government of the day at that time did not see the danger in what was happening.
The only solution is to make this type of crime unattractive. When such a thing happens, not like contained in this motion, for over a decade, Rivers State has been a theater of gory killings, either by cultists or other types of criminals.
It's time for my take. Now, the principle of godfatherism is evidently more popular than we thought. I mean, when an Oba, a monarch, openly says the victory of the incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari has rendered another so-called godfather, Obasanjo in this case, powerless. However, I believe that we need to listen to some of what Obasanjo is saying. No one in power just says anything. Listen, then act. Another election year, another year of challenging election results. This will keep happening until every Nigerian decides to stand hand in hand to stop this election malpractice that we experience every election cycle. How long will the Election Petitions Tribunal last? Well, let's see how that goes. I'm Mariana Kun, and this has been Plus Politics. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.